Hey everybody, and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be giving you some recommendations off of my shelves of books that would fit the black color, so books that would match the black prompts to black covers. So I obviously have more recommendations for all of these prompts. However, I'm going to be really focusing in on the combination of the cover and the prompt. So they're just going to be a small selection, and there are obviously a million other books that would fit these prompts and that would make that combination that either I haven't read or I haven't loved enough to recommend to you guys, or I don't physically own. I'm gonna make one exception because there's one book that I can particularly think of that I don't physically own that I also want to conclude within this one. And let's start with that one, and that is The Membranes by Chi Wei. This is a Taiwanese book. It is a queer novel, and it is a really good sci-fi-ish book. And this one I would recommend for the prompt of reading BIPOC representation, because this is first of all written by a Taiwanese author, and so I don't know whether it's specifically referred to or not, but then I assume that the characters are also, you know, Asian. Another prompt that this one would fit for is the prompt of reading a book that is outside of your comfort zone, in case you are somebody who doesn't read a ton of translated fiction, who doesn't read a lot of queer literature, who doesn't like anything speculative typically within their reading, so tend to steer clear of speculative fiction. For all of these people, this could be outside of your comfort zone, or if you're somebody who loves very long books, because this one isn't all that long at all. Let's move on to the books I actually physically own, and let my cat move out of the way so I can grab them. Because I have a huge pile next to me, mainly due to the length of some of these books. So some of these are definitely gonna be options. Whoops, yeah, fell over, of course. So first up, I'm just gonna go in the order that they're lying in front of me. There is no rhyme or reason to this order. We have Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. This is a book that could count for the over 300 page prompt, and it's also a book that could count for outside of your comfort zone if you're somebody who doesn't like reading what is it called? Classics. If for some reason or another Charlotte Bronte is your favorite author, then this could also count. Rereads count, for example, because I would suspect that if Charlotte Bronte is your favorite author, that you will have already read Jane Eyre. Does anything else count here? I don't think so, right? So we can move on. No, spoiler. Then we have Babel by R.F. Kuang. So this is a book that could count for the over 300 page prompt. Once again, it is BIPOC representation. Some of the characters within this book are black or Asian, and the author herself is also Asian. Could be a favorite author suggestion as well. If you've read Rebecca Kuang's Yellowface or her Poppy War trilogy and really enjoyed that one, then this would also be an option, of course, or a reread of this, of course. And I think that we have to leave it at that. If you want to be smart about this, you could say it is an animal, because the protagonist of the series is called Robin, and Robin is a bird. Next up, one of my most heavy recommendations would be Earthlings by Sayaka Murata. This is one of my favorite books of all times, but it is super, super bleak and dark. So it could be outside of your comfort zone because you're somebody who tries to steer clear of heavy subject matter or books that basically go very dark. Could be BIPOC rep because the author is Asian in this case. Could be outside of your comfort again as well because this is translated, and because it definitely is sort of like surreal, absurd, fantastical, sci-fi, who knows, very unclear. But this is definitely a book that could fit multiple of those prompts, and I think that those could fit animals, because this protagonist has a imaginary friend who's a hedgehog, right? Doesn't say, but animals should be able to fit for this one. As is the case for Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher. This is a dark fairy tale which features a chicken. This would therefore fit animals. It would fit favorite author if T. Kingfisher is one of those authors that you read a lot from. It can be outside of your comfort zone if you don't tend to steer towards fairy tale type writing. And Is it over 300 pages? It is over 300 pages and just barely, so it would also be a good one in terms of the page count restrictions. Next we have a book that is not black, but it does have a black cover, and so this would actually be a smart choice for red cover because it fits the red cover prompt, but it also has a mainly black cover edition, so it would be able to count for the cover match bonus even if it is a red cover that you are reading, or you don't even have to be reading the red cover. Both covers exist, so therefore it fits both the prompt and the cover match. This is a very big book, so counts for over 300 pages. There are a few other books within the series who could potentially also count for the over 300 page one, but it is kind of tricky. Not all of them really are significantly black. I'm not entirely sure whether even any of them are, except for the second one. This could be outside of your comfort zone because this is a complex, convoluted fantasy. You don't really have much of the background. You're kind of thrown in the middle of the story, and so you kind of have to figure out a lot of for yourself. If you tend to lean towards more lighter, easily digestible fantasy, this can be a little bit different because it has different timelines and it also has footnotes which kind of make it more complex to go through. Piranesi by Susanna Clarke would be a recommendation for a book that can be outside of your comfort zone if you're somebody who doesn't like to read speculatively. If you read speculatively, this is very much on the literary side, so if you don't tend to read literary, this can also be for you. This is not over 300 pages, so I cannot count for that. Favorite author in case you have read and loved Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. And I think that is it for what this book could potentially count for. Next up, we have A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. Outside of your comfort zone if you don't tend to read darker, emotional, heartbreaking books, which this one definitely is. This one could potentially also count for animal. It's not really an animal, it's a creature, but I would kind of let it slip, I guess. Could be favorite author depending on whether Patrick Ness is somebody you've read from before and loved or not. Then, if Brandon Sanderson is your favorite author, most of his books are white, in the UK editions at least, but there are some possibilities when you're looking at different editions, and I will specifically talk about Skyward. This can be outside of your comfort zone if you don't tend to steer towards YA anymore. Has an animal in it, and this one is over 300 pages. One that is like 50-50 black and white, The Corrections by Jonathan Franzen, is over 300 pages and is a book that is really fast reading in spite of the fact that it is so big. And this is more for sort of like the people who tend to read more literary fiction and therefore also can be outside of comfort zone for people who don't read that. The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern is one of those books that is for people who want to read a book over 300 pages, for people who want to reread The Night Circus because Erin Morgenstern is their favorite author. Aside from that, I don't particularly think that there is another prompt that this one fits, right? For BIPOC rep, we have On the Come Up by Angie Thomas, which is a YA book, so it could also be outside of your comfort zone if you don't tend to read YA anymore. And it is also over 300 pages, right? So that one could also count. And then the final book that I'm going to recommend is my favorite book, Lanny, I'm Exporter, and basically I can also only recommend this as being outside of your comfort zone because this is a book that is sort of like magical realism, contemporary, has a very specific, unique writing style, so if all of those things are things that you don't tend to gravitate towards, then this one could be the one for you. I would recommend the audiobook because this is like a full experience audiobook. So yeah, those are all of my recommendations for black books, for the prompts that follow the black prompt that follow. I got rudely cut off there. I was really trying to battle like the end of the clip time, but yeah, I didn't make it. But so yeah, these are all my recommendations for books that have a black cover that would also fit the black prompts. As indicated in the beginning, there are millions of other suggestions, so leave those in the comments down below. And with that, I'm going to end this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it and see you guys for the next one. Bye!